Audiobook 7.3 The Book of Questions. What if the question is the point? We are taught from an early age that questions are the path to answers. Ask the question, find the answer, move on. That's how learning works. That's how progress happens. That's how we get from not knowing to knowing. But what if that's only half the story? What if certain questions are not stepping stones to answers, but destinations in themselves? What if the act of questioning, done well, done honestly, done with real courage, is one of the highest things a human being can do? The Book of Questions begins here, with philosophers who refused to stop asking. Socrates didn't teach by providing answers. He taught by asking questions so precisely, so persistently, so uncomfortably that the people he questioned were forced to examine what they actually believed rather than what they assumed they believed. It made him deeply unpopular. Eventually, it got him killed. But the method survived because it worked. Not by filling people with knowledge, but by revealing to them the shape of their own ignorance. And in that revelation, something more valuable than any answer: clarity about what we actually don't know. In the East, the Zen tradition developed the koan, a question with no logical answer, designed not to be solved but to exhaust the thinking mind until something deeper could emerge. What is the sound of one hand clapping? What was your face before your parents were born? These are not riddles. They are tools, designed to take the questioning mind to its own edge and beyond. Somewhere between childhood and adulthood, most of us stop asking the biggest questions. Not because they get answered, but because we get busy. Because the questions feel too large and too unanswerable to be practical. Because somewhere along the way we absorb the message that having the right answers matters more than asking the right questions. That is one of the quiet losses of growing up. The Book of Questions asks you to recover something. Not naivety, you can't unknow what you know, but the genuine openness of someone who hasn't yet decided that the big questions are someone else's problem. Why are we here? What is consciousness? What do we owe each other? What is real? What matters? These questions don't have final answers, but they have better and worse ways of being held. And the quality of a life is shaped, more than we usually admit, by the quality of the questions running through it. Curiosity is a way of being. The Book of Questions is ultimately about curiosity, not as a personality trait, but as a practice, a discipline, a way of moving through the world that keeps it alive and surprising rather than fixed and familiar. Curious people are harder to manipulate, harder to reduce to a single story, harder to keep inside a box, because they keep asking what else might be true. That is a radical act. In a world that rewards certainty and punishes doubt, choosing to stay genuinely curious is one of the most courageous things a person can do. The Book of Questions is an invitation to that courage. We close this audiobook with a track from the Pi 11 Pi catalog called Curious. Let it carry the feeling of genuine openness, of a mind that hasn't decided yet, of a question held lightly and with love. Looking forward to meeting you in Audiobook 7.4, The Book of Energy. Ready when you are.